Hi everyone, I'm back again, and today I've got a message with a bit of a story as per usual to share with you guys. And in particular, this one is going to go it's going to go quite deep. Let's just say that. I'm going to go really deep into, something that really triggered me the other day. And basically, from having that experience, I really watched myself, and I watched how each and every one of us can have this kind of tendency to, fall into this kind of victim kind of mode and mindset. And, and we can always be triggered into the victim by the criticisms and judgments of our external world if left unchecked and not being very conscious. So what I'm going to do with you guys today is I am going to, like I usually do, share a personal example and story with you guys. But today I'm going to give you a bit of a step-by-step system to getting out of a victim mindset based on criticism and judgment. So it's going to be a powerful one for those of you who are really committed to breaking through and taking 100% responsibility of your life and your fulfillment, and not handballing that responsibility to anybody in your external world or giving any of that power away. Right? We want you having all of your power in your own hands. And the way that we ultimately are going to be able to do that is through you building your own awareness around your own patterns that keep you kind of safe and small and comfortable, and get you breaking through that. So as always, I want to ask you guys to drop me some comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. And as we dive into today's discussion, this is, as you guys know, a co-creative space. So I love getting to engage with you guys. I want to hear your wisdom. I want to hear your experiences. I want to hear, anything that you have to share, any challenges or successes, or also any questions that you might have. I absolutely want you guys to share along at home. And like I said, today's one is going to get a little deep, like pretty deep, right? And I want you guys to be thinking about, when was the last time in your life you felt really judged, right? Or criticized? Maybe it was recent for you, or maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe you've got a memory of that, which you kind of still hold on to. Or, if you don't have maybe something in mind right now, you're a human being walking the face of the planet, and you're surrounded by other human beings. And what do we do as human beings? We tend to judge ourselves, each other. So no doubt about it, you're going to come across this circumstance in your life at some stage. And it would be a crazy thing if you've never experienced any sort of criticism or judgment in your life, right? Lucky you. But maybe after today's message, you might realize that the lucky ones are the ones who do get the challenge of criticism and judgment, but they do something that actually helps and supports their own development and growth and freedom from the inside out. All right, so today's message is the fact that we need to let the judgments of others alert us to our own judgments of ourselves. And I mentioned being a victim, earlier on in today's message. So basically what today's message is going to help you to do is not let the judgmental attitude of other people influence you into the victim seat, right? And I'm going to explain what happened for me and how I kind of ended up playing the victim a little bit just recently. So basically, let me tell you the story, and then I'm going to give you the steps that I came up with to help myself get out of playing the victim and really use it to my advantage. All right. So, and I want to share this with you guys so you have this tool in your tool belt so that you can make sure that you're not running away from judgment and negativity in your external world. Instead, you're welcoming in the feedback and you're seeing how you personally respond to it to alert you to the parts of yourselves that you need to actually look at and grow and be more accepting of and be more empowered in your own sense of being. So let me take you back to the story. So a few days ago, what happened for me was I connected with some different people and one person in particular who was trying to set up and make a connection, you know, between myself and somebody that was close to this person, right? And it was kind of like a business. It was like, hey, this guy runs a podcast, you run a podcast. You could, you know, interview each other, and you could, you know, get into the minds and hearts of each other's audiences, right? And kind of expand your reach. So, you know, that's always a good thing. And, you know, for me personally, I love human beings, right? I love learning about people. I love fascinating over whoever it is. I have a tendency to assume the best, right? And just be like, yeah, it'll be an opportunity. No idea who this person really is. Kind of saw a little bit of what they were doing and it looked good and I was interested to learn more. And so it was just a yes, right? From me. And basically, you know, went to the middleman, said, yep, yeah, cool, would love to do it. Let's organize it. And then I actually got this response that kind of took me by surprise. And the response was, oh, okay, well, they might be open to this possibility, right? But just, you know, out of care, they've actually checked out, you know, a couple of your videos. And basically, he just wants to know that you're actually somebody who's authentic and that you're going to go deep and that you'll, you know, be vulnerable, because this is really important. Like, you know, he's had problems in the past with people not wanting to be totally transparent and authentic. And right, like for me, these people don't know me whatsoever, right? But for me, what I found was my initial reaction was I got kind of pissed off about it, right? I got kind of triggered by it because I was like, what the hell? Like, look at what I do. Like, everything is about, you know, and if you follow my story, and I know a bunch of you guys who've been following me for a long time, you know who I am, you know why I do what I do, and I get it. I get a lot of judgment because of this, because I've got blonde hair, because I wear makeup, because I love beautiful clothes, you know, all those sorts of things. So I can see it on face value why I do tend to get some of the judgments that I do. But basically from there, what I did was I noticed how it triggered me. And basically this is the pattern of what happened. So it triggered me, and then I like kind of put my phone down. I was like, I don't know what to think about that. Do I even want to be in connection with these people? Like, that's quite judgmental, right? And so I was just kind of like, I don't know. And my most intelligent self usually sleeps on things like that, and then I know my head's clear, and then I can see the whole bigger picture, and then I know how to handle it and which direction to take. But my smaller self was kind of taking the lead in this environment, and what I noticed was I got really annoyed by it. I just got pretty triggered by it, and then I ended up thinking, well, I'm just going to get back to this person. And I sent back a couple of voice messages, right? And I felt really triggered while I was recording these messages, and I was like, I was being really nice about it, but I was pretty triggered by it, right? I didn't feel like I was in my power at all. I was quite triggered by the scenario, and I sent these voice messages back, you know, just pretty much kind of saying, well, if you do actually look into my work, you'll notice that that's what I've built my whole business around, is sharing my authentic experience. So no problems here, like going deep and being authentic, right? The deeper, the better. But it wasn't coming from a place of power, I told you. It was coming from this, like, you know, triggered little place, this little victim place, right? And then I noticed also after I did that, I called my mum, right? And I spoke to my mum, because my mum, you know, is somebody who you know, we've all got that person in our lives that we go to when we can like have a bit of a bitch about something or play the victim a bit. Lots of people go to their mums, right? Because the mums, you know, they're always there to have your back and, you know, see you in rose-colored glasses and all the rest of it. And I noticed this as well, and I spoke it out with her, and I noticed what I was saying. And it was so victim-y. Like, it was like, I'm not sure about these people, right? It was me now judging them, right? And it was really interesting. And so, and basically from there, I realized, you know what? I really do have to sleep on this, and I am being a victim here. Like, these people don't know me. They've said barely anything. Why is this triggering me so much, right? I mean, it wasn't a huge trigger, but I'm just articulating it for you guys so you can apply it to your own life, right? But basically what I did was then I'm like, okay, I need to do some work on this. And basically what I did was I identified, number one, I identified what are the triggers here? Like, why am I feeling triggered here, right? And basically I felt judged. I felt judged on face value, people not actually understanding who it is that I am, and why I do what I do, which is really important to me. I felt like I was also letting others decide the course of that connection, because at that point when I responded, I was like, I'm not sure I even want to have this connection, right? And then basically I just kind of was in a bit of like, oh, well, I'll just leave the ball in their court. But in my heart, I felt like I don't actually want to have this connection, right? And so I kind of went against that. And that was triggering for me. I didn't feel like I was being true, right? But, it was kind of coming from quite a victim mindset, as we'll later discover. But yeah, there was just kind of connected to this deep desire to be seen for all of who I am and to be authentic. So they kind of hit on this trigger point for me. And then basically, so I listed all that out. So if you have something in your life or somebody criticizes or judges you or whatever, and you feel triggered, like identifying, what am I getting triggered by? Like, what is it exactly that's making me feel triggered in this scenario? What am I feeling? What am I believing is happening in this scenario? So identifying that is key, right? That's really the first step. Then what I did from that was I identified what are my disempowering patterns that I fall into when I feel triggered because of these things, right? When I feel like, people are judging me, or they're not seeing me for who I am, or they're judging me based on my appearance. Like what patterns do I fall into based on those triggers? And basically, it came down to, for me, like putting the power in other people's hands, right? External authority over my own internal authority. For those of you who are into NLP or neuro-linguistic programming, you'll know that that is one of the meta programs. So all you guys in the Limitless Potential Academy know this stuff. If you don't know this stuff and you want to learn it, I'd invite you to come and join us in the Academy, because this is where we dive deep on this stuff, and you have these models and these frameworks to put language to these different patterns that you have. So you have the awareness so that you can transform and you can be free, right? But basically it came down to that. Me putting too much power into my external environment, not enough into my internal. Also not trusting my own self and my own intuition, and kind of mismatching what was true for me, right? Kind of molding it so that, I wasn't going to upset anybody, that was kind of at play. And also just realizing it was coming up for me that I was like, hang on a minute, like I am lacking in self-esteem right now, right? I'm not trusting in my inherent value no matter what other people think or not, right? So it just alerted me to that pattern that we all have, but I could see that's coming into play again, right? I built my awareness around that. And then basically from there, I identified like, where did this come from, right? That's the next stage, is identifying the potential root causes. And what I was able to see as I traced it all the way back to my childhood, and the reason why you do this is because 95% of what how you react to any situation has nothing to do with the current moment and everything to do with past experiences, right? The reason is because 95% of your mind's capacity is in the subconscious. The subconscious is all those different experiences, belief systems, everything that you've got going on. And basically you've only got this 5% that you're responding to in the moment. So I realized, okay, I want to build my awareness here by identifying the root causes. Like, where did this actually come from, right? And I've done a lot of this work, but it was really good to just go back and just clear up a little bit more here. So for me, I could see that, based on the experiences that I had in my family and seeing different challenges, in particular one of my brothers had growing up, I could see that it created this sense of, oh, I need to put the power in my external world to determine if I'm a good person or not here, or doing the right things here, so that I can survive and keep connection, right? And so I realized, without going into all the depths here, I realized that there was specific different things, pivotal points in my history that were generating still my result or my experience of the present moment, right? Back from way in the past. And so I identified, what those root causes could potentially be. You might want to do this as well, right? And then basically when I was able to do that new level of awareness, right, disidentifies you and disengages the personal trigger with what you perceive it to be, with whoever these people are that don't know you, right? And say one little thing like, why does it trigger you? And actually makes it more about your own personal growth and your own sense of freedom and fulfillment and empowerment in your life. Rather than playing the victim, you become the creator, right? And the curious investigator of why these things are happening for you. And then basically from there, I also just solidified why I'd want this stuff to change, right? And I identified the disempowering results that get generated in my life when I stay stuck in those sort of patterns that were built from such a young age, right? And so I could see that, when I stay stuck in these unaddressed, ways of looking at the world and handballing the responsibility to external, of my worth to external sources or whatever, I could see so many different patterns play out that are generated from these sort of belief systems, right? So I could see that it made me hold back and want to be chosen rather than being selective in my life about who I bring in and who I keep out, which has been a challenge in my life for sure, discernment. It also lands me in relationships that I don't necessarily want long term. It also makes me highly sensitive to criticism or anything less than kindness is what I kind of discovered. Like anything less than kindness, I'm like, that's horrible, right? Because I could see my one-sidedness, my expectations for everybody to just be all kind, all loving, all good all the time, which is a complete fantasy, right? And creates your suffering when you live in a one-sided perception of reality, right? Because nobody's just all good. We're all altruistic and we also are narcissistic. We're 50-50, whether you want to admit it or not, but by admitting the balance that's always at play, you set yourself free. So I could just see, all right, yep, I've fallen back unconsciously into this pattern of just wanting everybody to be so kind all the time, and that's just never going to be the case, and we wouldn't want it to be either. We need the contrast, we need both sides, we need reality and realness in order to have freedom, all right? And truth, right? So that was playing out as well. And, it was just like I could see these patterns. So again, you might want to be able to do that for yourself and identify, well, what are the disempowering results that are generated because I haven't cleared up these particular triggers? Or you might have done it in the past, but there's always another layer to that onion, right? To unravel that, to get to a new level of self-awareness and empowerment, okay? And then basically, after I did all that and I built all that awareness and I was like, oh, it has nothing to do with them really. This is a gift, right? Another gift wrapped in sandpaper that I'm willing to open, so that I can use it for my own growth and freedom moving forward, right? And my ability to help and serve others, right? That comes from my own personal growth. I can't call myself the human guinea pig of all things personal development if I'm not actually developing myself, right? So it gave me that opportunity as well. And so lastly, just to solidify this whole process, I just identified, if I want to transform this, what could I do that would create the maximum positive impact to me in my life right now? And basically, it alerted me to the fact that I needed to, again, readdress and reassess my giving over of the external authority and making that more important than my own internal authority. So, you know, building my own trust and belief in my own inner world and judgment in my inner world way more than any criticisms, judgments, opinions in the external world. This is a common theme in my life. I saw Lisa just joined before, and Lisa does hypnosis, and she took me through one of her sessions, and this is what came up, and that must have been like 2 years ago, you know. So these common themes we run in our lives, although we're growing and progressing, and gosh, I grow every single day, there's always, you know, these little pieces that just need to get cleared up again and again for you to be on top of your game in terms of your freedom to be all of who you are in this world and go after what you truly want in this world, you know, and to be truthful and authentic and genuine, you know, all those really key things that will set you free in this life. You need to realize that you will have levels and stages of growth, and you will need to repeat different patterns, different lessons and break through, but it's not always that you're going backwards. It's just that there's like, it's the next layer, it's the next level, right? So just be reminded of that. Don't be disheartened if you find the common themes of your life and the common challenges in your life. This is just one of my major ones that's created a lot of the challenges in my life. And so, yeah, I'm bound to come back time and time again to this, but that's why I wanted to deliver this particular message for you guys and share this particular story based on, you know, not letting other people's judgments, you know, put you in a state of victimhood. Because when you're being a victim, like I started as, right? When you're being a victim, you prevent and stifle your own growth, right? Like you're trapped. You've just given away all your power, right? And you're not going anywhere. And then you might have people around you validating your experience, and that's what we tend to do when we're in the victim mode. We tend to get in contact with people who will, you know, give us a pat on the back and go, hey, it's okay, and kind of enable our victim behavior. Which, you know, sometimes it's kind of like a stage. Like I found that me going and reverting straight into the victim was a process I kind of needed to go into in order to realize I don't want to be there, and what's another way so I can become the creator rather than be the victim. All right, and I just wanted to share and articulate that particular story for you guys, just so you can see that, you know, we're all going to have to deal with judgment and criticism, and it's more about how do you respond to what's given to you from the external world. Because when you're conscious of how you respond, if it's anything less than empowered, right, then there's an opportunity for you there, right? That's very empowering. You know, I welcome the challenges and the criticisms and the judgments, because there's definitely times in my life where I get that and it's like water off a duck's back. And to me, that's like, oh, that's cool. Like I'm feeling that empowerment. It's like a celebration of your own internal authority and empowerment. And then there's other times where you're not on top of your game and things do trigger you. And then that's just an opportunity for you to regain your power, right? Where you might have been blind to and fall back into unconscious patterns like we all do. All right. So hoping that this definitely serves you guys, and you just get thinking about, where is it in your life that you have, you know, you get triggered? Where do you get triggered, right? And then the step-by-step process, number one, identify those triggers. Get clear. What are they, right? Number two, identifying the disempowering patterns that are at play because of those triggers, right? Number three, you want to identify, well, what's the root cause of these patterns and these triggers? Where did it even come from? Step four, you want to see what it's costing you, right? Because of these patterns, if left unaddressed, these are the results that they're currently generating in your life. And then lastly, you want to put it into action. Now you've got all that awareness and you can see the future doesn't look great if you don't tackle this, you know, to be able to go, what's the number one thing I need to be focused on right now that will make the maximum positive impact in this scenario, right? How can I grow? How can I use this as an opportunity to grow and gain a new sense of freedom and fulfillment in my life? All right. And when you do that, you no longer fear judgment and criticism in your external world, because you're never going to be free of it. This is the thing. It doesn't matter how much you try. At the end of the day, 50% of people out there are going to love you, 50% are going to hate you. It just doesn't matter, right? It's like you're always going to have that. Whether you're trying to mold yourself to be a certain way, that same scenario is going to happen. And if you're being truthfully authentic, same scenario is going to be happening. And you guys have heard me say time and time again, make your filter for this life your authentic filter, right? Just be authentic, repel all those that don't resonate with you, and you'll attract those who do, right? Wouldn't that be much more inspiring and empowering than trying to be a certain way that would repel 50% and attract 50%, but you got to sustain some mode of being that's not actually true to who you are, right? That's really depressing. And I spent a lot of my first part of my life doing that, right? And all it did was reinforce that I wasn't lovable for the truth of who I was. It was only really where I stepped into my authenticity, which was probably, about 3.5, 4 years ago now, when I really stepped into it consciously. And that's been a journey. I've gotten more and more open and authentic and vulnerable as the time has gone on, because I've gotten to know who I am. But basically, it was only then that I had the experience of being actually appreciated for the truth of who I was, not a molded version of that, because I didn't know who I was previously, right? So this is really empowering information. If you guys take it on board, apply it to your life, and really welcome in those triggers, right? Just know every single trigger is an opportunity and a stepping stone to a new level of freedom and fulfillment in yourself, all right? So hope this has served you, and I want to dive into the comments right now. So I want to hear from you. Drop me a comment, say hi, let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. If you've got any questions or comments or words of wisdom, now is the time to share them below, and let me dive in with you guys. So I have got Jerry in the house, and good morning to you, Bill. Great to have you in the academy. I loved waking up and seeing that you joined us overnight. And Judy's here as well, and Josie and Julie, and you're so welcome, Jerry. Good to have you here. And Billy's here, and Patty, and Mark, and Erwin, and Joe, and Helgi. Awesome to see each and every one of you guys. And Jerry, for me at work, was set up and suspended 3 days without salary by a work colleague. Don't know how somebody can go to all this to prove nothing. Oh, what a challenge, right? So here's the perfect opportunity, right? What precisely is triggering you about that scenario? Because at the end of the day, look at it this way. We want to be the most emotionally intelligent human beings we can possibly be. What does that mean? Being emotionally intelligent is being able to make a situation better rather than worse based on your input to it. So you want to be consciously aware of what you're contributing to that conversation and that environment. Is what you're going to share or do or not share or not do, is that going to make the situation better, or is it going to make the situation worse? And if you feel like, oh, how I'm going to operate right now is definitely going to make the situation worse, refrain from doing it and step back and do the conscious work on identifying what's at play for you, so that you can ultimately get yourself to a state of balance and centeredness, so that you can go into that situation, no matter what it is, as a person who's going to make the situation better, because you've got foresight now. You're not reacting, you're responding consciously to the environment. All right. So hope that helps. And Jerry, I love what you're sharing, and hope it all works out for your benefit and you use this as an opportunity for your growth. So awesome. And Anton's here as well, and Colin and Lincoln and Jerry. We can only remain our true authentic selves for the true authentic selves. For the rest, it's out of our control. It's behind your back. Remain true to yourself. Absolutely. You know, that's kind of the lesson to all of the challenges that we receive from our external world. It's like, are you going to be true to yourself, right? Are you going to step into a new level of your empowerment? Are you going to use this to grow yourself and build more higher levels of self-awareness and connection to what matters and where you want to go? Or are you going to try and like take a step back and mold yourself and walk on eggshells, or, you know, sacrifice what's true for you in order to please or subordinate to others? You know, like they're two very different lives. I've been on both paths. I can definitely attest to the first one is the best, right? So love that, Jerry. Absolutely. And Bill, trust your intuition. You knew right away something didn't feel right. Trust that feeling. That's what the shift to negative energy feels like. Likewise, you know what the positive energy feels like. That's easy. Trust, trust, trust. Yes, interesting point here, Bill, because what I found was that was my kind of, when I stepped into the victim, I was a bit like, yeah, my intuition says I don't want this connection, right? That's what I was convincing myself of. And it actually wasn't until I had the bit of a victim conversation, and then I kind of was like, hang on a minute, like I can see how this is triggering me. I could feel it in my body. It didn't feel like this centeredness, like, yeah, this is not meant to be. It was this, I'm annoyed and triggered and anxious here, and that's not meant to be. So even though we could label it our intuition, sometimes our intuition is our fear just trying to protect our little victim self, right? So in this scenario, it was a bit like that. And maybe time will tell a little bit as well, because, you know, I haven't actually had this connection kind of play out just yet, but it's opened up and I'm going to be going. So I'll report back with you guys and test that out. But yes, so definitely 100% agree to trust your intuition. Sometimes my experience has been to know the difference between your intuition and your fears talking, all right? Because sometimes we can get caught up in our smaller selves and mistake that for intuition. But when you're really tapped into your intuition, there's like an unshakability. There's a calmness, there's a centeredness, there's just like that deep knowing, right? And that's not necessarily what I had at this time. It was more like, oh, I really didn't like that. And I feel like anxious and my heart's racing a bit. Like it was more fear driven because of what it was triggering for me. So I needed to be clear on what that was. And, you know, and also touched on one of my highest values is being authentic. So to be judged for not being authentic, I'm like, whoa, like, I need to make sure that like I'm not missing something. Am I deceiving myself about something? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? So that's a really interesting point that you bring up there, Bill. And I love that you seem to have such wisdom and experience and expertise in this. So I always love hearing your comments and your experiences. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Clayton's here as well. And good morning to you, Shrikant. And Lisa's here, and Emmanuel, and Jerry, thank you so much for your compliment. Appreciate it. That you're liking my earrings. And Madeline's here, awesome. And Lisa, yes, there are very stubborn patterns. I watched your podcast interview with David Snyder. You both did amazing, loved it. Oh, I love that you got the chance to watch that interview. Oh my gosh. David Snyder is amazing. If you guys haven't seen the interview that I did with David Snyder, you can check it out. Best place is on my Facebook page here or on my YouTube channel. If you just Vanessa Jane Patrick, David Snyder, you'll see it. If you want to dive into the workings of the mind, David Snyder is an NLP expert and a fascinating guy, one of my favorite people to learn from in the realm of neuro-linguistic programming. So love that, Lisa. Thanks so much for letting me know. And Kane's here, and Adrian, awesome. And Ainsley, I find it hard to respond rather than react to other comments and things that go wrong. It comes down to using the pain of the situation to push me to change and move forward. Yeah. Absolutely, right? You're just speaking into the human experience, right? It's very challenging to use our conscious ability to respond as opposed to react. Remember what I mentioned before, 95% of how you are reacting to a situation comes from your past, right? Comes from your subconscious. It has only 5% to do with the current situation. So, and if we know that all these processes I've just given you today, these step-by-step system of overcoming this, I don't know why I'm losing my voice right now, but overcoming this, it actually, excuse me, it actually comes from, thinking about it this way. It's like 5% of you is trying to negate the other 95% of you, right? The 95% is going to win majority of the time, but going through processes to build self-awareness of what's going on in your subconscious that triggers you, right? That's how we get more of the mind's capacity into the conscious side. So we're not just 5% versus 95%. So we're rarely, if ever, winning, from our conscious ability to respond rather than react. We're always trying to build up that responding element by bringing conscious awareness to what's previously been unconscious, right? That's why I'm always saying that awareness is the foundation to any transformation. All right. So love that share there, Ainsley, and totally in the human experience, totally resonate with what you're saying. It is challenging, but it's worth the work. Absolutely. And Brian, a simple thank you. I'm grateful to hear that this was of value. And Lisa, great resources, Vanessa. Thank you so much. Grateful to hear that. And Marsh, Vanessa, you are a stunning woman. Oh, thank you very much for your words and your help. Thank you so much for such kind words there, Marsh. I'm grateful that you're finding value in these messages. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's very kind of you. And Bill, love your soul smart wisdom too. Go get them. I love it. Thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate you. So that's my message for you guys. I hope that me diving into this kind of experience of what happened for me over the last few days, it was just interesting. And I just noticed that, I was triggered, and I was like, the number one thing, I don't ever want to be the victim, right? So I'm very conscious of that. And, it comes with also not just forcing myself into the creator and not being the victim. We need to have a level of self-acceptance, right? I kind of needed to go through that little stage and have my little, my little victim mode for a minute, and accept that's part of the process of being a human. But then I chose to bring more conscious awareness, use it as an opportunity to grow, because that's not a pattern that I want to play in my life. That's going to cost me, my freedom and my fulfillment, So it's really important to have some sort of processes to build awareness so that you can transform, so that you can go about living your best life ever. All right. So I want to definitely thank each and every one of you guys for showing up live today. I can see Simon's just joined, and anybody else just joining now. I hope you do catch the recording. Get a ton of value from today's message. And really my message, as always, to each and every one of you guys is to go out there and live authentically, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully. All right, go use those triggers, use everything that upsets you or challenges you in your external world, use it as the opportunities that they are to build that self-awareness so that you can transform and you can go about creating that freedom and fulfillment that you were born to experience. All right, and Dilson, you are so welcome. I'm grateful that this was of value. And like I always ask, if you guys do find value in any of these messages, anything that I put out, please do share it with any of your loved ones that you feel could find value in it. And that's such a gift that you can give to me. And Jerry, awesome. Loving that this was awesome for you. And Mark, you're so welcome. And Lisa, you're welcome too. Grateful that this was a beautiful message for you. So much love for each and every one of you guys. And I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.